I will
Well, that was to computer, wasn't it? Sorry, what's that?
I will chime in that this is great practical work training experiences. This is exactly how actual meetings go in the corporate environment.
That's true.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is it recording?
It is, yes.
It is recording. Okay, beautiful. All right. You're on.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming out today. This has been a project about 2 months in the making. We've been working on an exercise recommendation app to be used for the U Recwell and possibly other gyms and other arenas in the future. So today I have with me, I'm Roscoe. This is Elias. We also have Leah, Kamal, Peter, Alu, and Amanda. And let's go to the next slide here. Start us off.
So there it is. Yeah. So exercise apps, they're all around us anyway. So why did we pick this of all things? Well, we had like, I think 6 or 7 ideas, and we ended up settling on this just because we kind of all had shared interest in exercise in some way, shape, or form. And we were like, yeah, this works. This is something that we'd all want and something we'd actually maybe use if we got it into a workable state. So here we are.
Features if we had
Keep coming. So you're on the screen there.
all right, features if we had all the time in the world. First of all, we would have added exercise list, favorite exercises, workout based on favorite exercises, filtered by muscle group intensity, quick used, and also pictures and videos for each exercise.
Okay, so under the hood, we have 2 main aspects here with databases and the API. So our database is a PostgreSQL database based on the free exercise database found on GitHub. This is hosted on a virtual machine in a Docker container hosted by the EU. And for API, it runs in Django, a Python API framework. The API is also hosted on a VM in a Docker container as well. And it interfaces with our database virtual machine to serve operating system agnostic responses to populate our application.
Let's do the demo off screen here. I put myself closer. So we'll start on iOS first. I got to get some things hooked up here. Text messages. All right. Let me get Xcode running here. This thing is in my way. That's really cool. I love that. How do I get this out of it? Thank you, Zoom. Okay. It's on my phone here. Be nice if it showed up on the screen. It probably isn't going to. I'll just run it on the emulator. Can you all see this okay?
Yep.
Yep. All right, perfect. So this is the start screen of the app. We open up to a small exercise list. We didn't get a chance to build it out completely, so we have a couple of example exercises here to start out with. They have their exercises objects built in the back end, whatever. So we have a couple of placeholders, the search bar for the exercises, the filters we didn't get a chance to get to yet in this demo, but we do have the buttons built out. So we have the name of the exercise. In this case, we have butterfly, dumbbell, bicep curl, and leg press, and their primary exercises listed. Chest, bicep, and quadricep for butterfly, dumbbell, bicep, and leg press respectively. So when we click into one of the exercises, we'll open up the exercise detailed page. So you'll see the title is up at the top of the screen, butterfly in this case. There's a favorite star. The functionality isn't completely there yet, but when you tap it, it's supposed to toggle and show that you favorited this exercise. It should show up at the top when you reopen the app next time. So there's usually an image here. We didn't manage to get that in right away, but we have the intensity listed. So this intensity is beginner, shown by the green text and the 1 dot next to it. For other intensities, we would have medium. It would be yellow with 2 dots, and then hard, it would be red with 3 dots. The mechanic here is isolation. The mechanic would be what kind of movement you're doing. If it's an isolationist movement, you'd be focusing on one muscle group. Otherwise, there are some compound ones where you're using several different parts of your body to do an exercise. This exercise uses a machine. The database didn't come with a ton of detail on the equipment. Some other ones do. We might add that later on. And this one only has its primary muscle group, which is chest. So it doesn't have secondaries, so they don't show up on the screen. And then it also lists the steps underneath that. You can scroll through this page, see the rest of the steps. In this case, we just have our listed steps, sit on the machine, take hold of the handles, push the handles together slowly, and then return back to your starting position when you're done. So that's what it looks like on iOS. Let's do Android. Yeah.
Can we just put up the camera, or should I just, or?
No, I'll get it running.
Okay.
So, a little bit different on iOS and Android at the moment. Still deciding whether or not we want to keep it that way. Let's do this. So, it's the wrong phone. Cool. Move that again. All right. So this so I can see it. You guys see this one, all right? Okay. So on Android, it's a pretty similar look with a couple of color differences. This one does have the filter icons built out, so and you can't see it because it's a little slow. There you go. So we have the three filters, the intensity of the exercise. You can filter by easy, medium, and hard. Functionality for these filters isn't built in yet, so I won't be able to show that. But then you have muscle groups, your chest, back, legs, arms, core. There will probably be more as we continue to develop the app. And then the equipment's barbell, dumbbell, machine, bands. There will be more of that as well as we move on. But for now, I'll show you what the detail page looks like on Android. It's a little different. We were trying to get an image working here at the last minute, but it wasn't working, so we had to go with just the space being filled. But this one also has a favorite button. So when you star it, it'll favorite the exercise. It was supposed to have the same functionality as it will on iOS. You have your intensity. We didn't manage to get that one in. Yeah.
It is. It's just not working right now for some strange reason.
Yeah.
It was working 10 minutes ago.
It was working, but it's not, which is unfortunate. But then we also have your muscle groups listed out. We have quads, glutes, and hamstrings would be the primary muscle groups. And then we also have the list of steps underneath that. So
sad. That was actually one of the things I was working the hardest on.
Yeah. Yeah. It was almost there, but no. So yeah, that's the two apps, all right, as they are at this stage.
All right, awesome.
Let me go back to the presentation. Where did it go? There we go.
All right, so next steps for our app. The main thing we're waiting on right now is to access our UMN virtual machine and to integrate it and just make sure it's working within the app. This will be able to make us route our database with the API, make sure the full stack is established within our app. After that, it's obviously implementing new features like that favorited workout thing Elias was talking about, workout suggestions, and then adding database exercise and populating the videos into the app. And then finally, just making sure Android and iOS are cosmetically equal and that they look like the same app, but on different platforms.
This was our.
So here it shows what we finalized and what our application will look like at the end. So all the way to my left would be the exercise name, which shows which showed the intensity and all the workout and all the steps. Within the middle would be our main, or with including the drop-down menu, such as filters, intensity, muscle groups such as chest, legs, arms, and then equipment. And then all the way to my right is just what would have looked like without obviously the filter in the way. But yeah.
And then for our final part, I'd like to ask for some suggestions and or questions if you have any. Hopefully I got a layup coming right here.
Do you want me to start you off?
Hit me with the layout.
Okay, so I'm gonna start us off. What challenges did you experience over the last couple months?
What a great question, Sean.
Yeah.
There were numerous challenges we faced over these last couple months. Some of them, the main one including, we had a lot of trouble getting a virtual machine. We started trying to work on the virtual machine pretty much sprint 1, week 1 of this. And we started off trying to get an Amazon Web Service set up. Wasn't available. We looked at other options for a week or two, and then we finally found what is hopefully going to be our holy grail, which is a UMN sanctioned virtual machine that is hosted here. We are just having a little bit of trouble getting access to that, just a little. But hopefully in the coming weeks, before the project is done.
Coming days.
Hopefully. In the coming days, it should hopefully come to us, and then we should be able to build out full functionality for our app and possibly go even further to what we're interested in accessing. Otherwise, it's also just our first time together as a Scrum group. We all met each other in this class this semester, but it's really been an incredible experience learning alongside everybody. And I also want to extend a special thanks to Sean for teaching this class. It's been an incredible experience. And I can't imagine taking this class another way. If there are any other suggestions and or questions, please feel free. Hit me.
Did you find that it took longer for you to do than you originally thought it would
Definitely.
at the beginning? Yeah.
Absolutely. But I feel as though, in a sense, you have to kind of expect that. So we kind of, especially at the beginning, we definitely gave ourselves a lot of time until we could kind of establish how much we could realistically get done. And that eventually had us settle on modeling our sprints around a certain number of points that we could get done.
Yep.
I think we settled maybe around upper 30, upper 20s to 30 or so. And with our group, that was about the number of parts of the sprint that we could get done in every 2 weeks. Otherwise, let's see. Yeah, that's it. Anything else? Be happy to answer anything.
I remember the scope we started.
Yeah.
The first day we were here.
Yes, we
Okay, that's a lot more than I think you guys realized.
we definitely had a very large scope initially, and it took a lot of advice from our project manager to our project managers. I'll say project managers. Also, our project managers to help us get ourselves a little bit more realistic, get ourselves a little bit more on the straight and narrow, so we could understand more about what we could realistically accomplish. And it's honestly made our outcome a lot better. So I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
Joe, did you have a question, comment?
Yeah, so I heard you guys say story points. I mean, so is that that's a pretty advanced concept when it comes to like running an agile team, trying to estimate how complex a piece of work is, not in terms of just like how many, hours or days or whatever you think it's going to take to get it done, but using story points. Is that a concept that you found easy to wrap your head around, or what were your thoughts about that?
So we use story points specifically in Jira, in a Jira application. And what we did was we all came together on a day every 2 weeks or so to assign points to every section or story of our assignment. And so this was called a planning poker. And what we did was we somewhat equated each point to being about how many hours an assignment or a process would take. And with this, it was a lot easier to understand that way once I understood points as kind of equaling hours. I'm sure there's a little more nuance in it that we'll all be learning a little bit more about sooner, but beyond that, there is what I was trying to say here. Yeah, so points were extremely helpful for us, and it made it so that we were able to better delegate our assignments to make sure we weren't overloading somebody on assignments, and make sure that we could figure out, and also, like if somebody needed less on a certain week, so that they could, if they needed to go on vacation, because, for example, Elias had a vacation earlier on, so we assigned him a little bit less, and also just more work that would be easier to do at a convenience. And, you know, when somebody didn't have as much work, we had the opportunity to apply a little bit more work to them to balance out the loads a little bit for the rest of the team. And as well as that, where was I going with this? I lost my thoughts. I lost it. Sorry.
That's fine. So any other questions online?
Did did any of you have a prior experience doing Android or iOS development?
Yeah. I work for a company where I work as a mobile app developer. So I've worked on both Android and iOS for a good amount of time, which definitely helped our ability to quickly pick up Android and iOS. I was able to help out a good chunk of the team with figuring it out right away. So, and did some app setup so that we could get started off the ground faster, which I think helped us get to the point where we're at right now. Otherwise, I think we would have been a lot farther behind with the app. So.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It should be noted, by the way, we would not have gotten as far or have done as well without Elias. So I want to especially thank him. He's been incredible. Anything else you'd like to ask us?
And then
Suggestions?
so I know you're trying to get the VM working. I've talked to Sean about that. But so that's where your I mean, quote unquote back end will be, right? And so that's going to be an API, I believe you said. So that's where like your database is going to be in the application logic and that kind of stuff, right? And so is the API. So you're like and sorry if I am going in a direction that inappropriate, but a RESTful API, I assume, using a web interface, HTTP, and then are you planning on? I just don't know how. I just curious like how far you're going to take it. So it's going to be a REST interface. Is it going to be secure? In other words, using HTTPS? Is it going to have authentication? How far are you guys taking that?
In the first stages, we wanted to just make it a RESTful API that would essentially communicate with the database and then send data back to the app so that we could get the exercise list and the exercise data and all that stuff. Eventually, we would plan on having the more secure part where it would actually be secured and encrypted and authenticated so that users can actually have like saved data for their favorite exercises. And way in the beginning when we were talking about it, we wanted to set up these essentially workouts, which were planned out exercise sets that would let us, essentially you would tap one and then you would start a workout. And those would probably rely on user data being sent back to the database in an authenticated way, so that they wouldn't have to all be stored locally on device. So there was more plans, but we haven't been able to flesh out the API and database as much as we wanted.
So the 4032 students, we'd love some student perspective if you have questions or comments.
Just say something.
Anything. If you have any suggestions, maybe for if you think the app could look better in some way, if you want, we could pull up the design docs again really quick. If you have any suggestions visually, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so is just a natural progression point. It's a good start. Is there an easy way to port these apps into their respective smartwatch platforms? Because that seems like the next place that people would use a iPhone for workout and an Apple Watch at the gym.
yeah, so you go ahead actually.
It wouldn't be too hard. With having the app, both platforms, their respective IDEs, the development platforms have ways to quickly add a watch app version of the app that we already made. So importing a lot of the views and UI stuff from just the mobile app into the watch app wouldn't be too bad, but it would definitely basically be building another app essentially on top of the app that we already have. So it's possible and they could communicate with each other, but we're basically creating two apps. So yeah, it would be cool though.
There might be other priorities before that, but if in the future, that would be an incredible prospect.
For sure. That'd be a cool idea.
I like that. We'll keep that in mind. Anything else you'd like to ask us about?
What was I mean, a lot of stuff, there's challenges that come up that are kind of anticipated. And I assume that along the way, Sean was probably warning you guys about the whole VM situation and whatnot. But is there anything else that came up that you just didn't see coming? You went, whoa, where'd that come from? Kind of deal.
I mean, there's a lot of small things, like for example, when we were coding the apps, there's some issue that is going to set you back a few hours and you don't see that coming. But that's almost expected whenever you're coding. As far as more overarching things, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but does anyone have any ideas of other overarching aspects of the project that you didn't really see coming that ended up becoming more of a problem?
I personally can't think of
Mm-hmm. I feel as though
Talk about the development life balance.
development
Right.
life balance.
I was thinking of as well, yeah. We definitely struggled with figuring out each other's like time availability. So it was all over the place, which kind of makes it tough to kind of nail down a time, especially for meetings. That was definitely one of the things that we struggled a bit with, was trying to really get a meeting planned out. There was a weekend or two ago when we were trying to get it on a Saturday at 10 p.m. and we decided that there was a couple people that weren't going to be able to make it to that. So we decided that's not great. So let's not do it Saturday. I forgot to mention the fact that we had actually tried to get it on Thursday that same week. And then nobody was available Thursday. We were like, okay, let's do it Friday. Nobody was available Friday either. People had plans. And then we were like, let's do it Saturday at 10 p.m. And then nobody wanted to do it at Saturday at 10 p.m. So we moved it to Sunday at 10 a.m. And then we finally got it done. So, but that was for pointing out and finishing up the planning for our stories. And that really set us back days to get time to work on the project. We basically delayed ourselves 4 days before we could even get to work. So yeah, there was a lot of instances where that happened. So
It's true. And at the same time, it's also, we're trying to work really hard on this, but we're also still students for 2, 3, 4 other classes.
right.
And that's also a little bit hard to balance, but I think we've all done a pretty good job of it.
Why did you guys decide on this particular layout for the app?
Amanda? Because you were the one who came up with this screen specifically. Do you want to?
I went based on your screen first, based on the background and everything. And then after that, I just looked online, a lot online in images and like applications, and then just looked through and then just try to figure out I know I had other older versions of these before finalizing these ones. So overall, I just had like a lot of different designs. And then when we came all together as a group, I talked to them about it. What would you like? And then what would you like, what would you not? Overall, thinking about the client or like the person who's gonna actually use the application. And then we overall just decided on this. Yes.
So Matthew, or really anybody, I mean, does this layout resonate with you, or does it feel foreign?
You guys like this?
Yeah,
I think it's good. We worked hard on it. It's kind of cool.
Be nice if it worked. Or in time. But yeah, it would be nice if it looked like an app that people would actually, scroll through and use. So
I mean, 4032, would you change the layout if you were building this? Anyone?
Let me just take some notes.
This is just me. I'd probably just make the buttons bigger. I'm just thinking someone at the gym their hands might be sweaty, they might be tired, or something like that. Bigger buttons might make it easier to navigate because they might lose some precision.
right.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
I like it.
We did make the buttons bigger too. But yeah, making them they were actually even thinner than this, and then we decided we should make them bigger. And we probably, making them even bigger than this is probably a good idea, especially if you're gonna be sweating and you just want to quickly tap on the next exercise. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So what else? What other feature, function, layout suggestions would you make?
Mm, has there been any thought on accessibility features?
Yes, we've been working on them. We were trying to figure out colors. It's probably on our side, it's actually pretty easy to see this now. Easy and medium we're concerned, those colors in particular, because they're one's a yellowish green and the other one's greenish, like a lighter lime green color. So those, even with this projector on our screen here, kind of look the same. So we went and made the easy green darker. Made it match some of the heading colors. But yeah, there's also been other ideas like we have descriptions for all of the buttons and stuff. So if you were to use something like VoiceOver on iOS or TalkBack on Android, you would be able to hear the description of the button and also the fact that it's a button that you can click on. But yeah, there would definitely be some time dedicated to adding more accessibility features. We've been thinking about that, but for this version, it wasn't the biggest focus, but we would like to expand on it in the future.
I had actually one quick question, a follow-up for the person who was asking for bigger buttons if possible. So we have a few different buttons here. We have, for example, this button, which brings the drop-down menu, and we have all these different buttons here for the exercises. And we also have these ones in here for the different intensity, muscle groups, equipment, etc. So out of all these, do you think all the buttons should just get bigger in general? Or do you think there's specific buttons? Because a little bit more specificity would be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to, if I think maybe a good way to think about it is think as if as a user is actually using the app, like when is it the most sensitive for them to when they're interacting with the app, right? So when they're trying to maybe start a workout or move to the next exercise, maybe that the button that indicates that should be the biggest that, you know, instead of using dark patterns, you're, using the opposite of it to kind of draw the user to that quickly. So, and, something like next exercise, start exercise, stop, pause, those types of things. I'm assuming when people are selecting which workout they want to do, that's at the beginning and maybe they're using their phone with both hands as opposed to one. So if there's like a feature that says, you're left-handed or something, and then it pushes all the buttons to the left side for easy one-hand use. Just a thought.
Yeah, awesome.
I like that. Thank you so much.
Actually, I don't think I've seen it happen either.
All right. Are there any more suggestions or questions that you have for us?
It's like technical questions too, if you're curious.
What about thoughts on like eventually having videos showing how it's done?
Yeah, we wanted to implement that. The issue that we ran into is one, we didn't have the VMs set up with the databases, and we also didn't have the database that we used just as a starter didn't come with videos. We definitely would like to add them. We were planning on it. There was an open space on the app screen that I showed earlier, but in use, it would look like this. This was a placeholder, but this is what a fully built out app screen would look like. These are examples of two different photos, but we would like to have a video in there as well to actually show you how to do the exercise, because we know it's important to actually see somebody have the proper form for an exercise, because you really don't want to injure yourself while you're doing an exercise. So videos are important, but
Especially
didn't get the chance.
Especially because part of this aspect was we decided to make this app a lot more. We're trying to make this app more beginner focused. So we're not trying to make we're trying to make this simple for a beginner who hasn't used exercise apps before, and we're also trying to make this easy to use for the same reason. Simple and easy, and also just helps with our complexity. And if we want to, we can make a more complex app in the future, or maybe even another version.
But does this app pull everything each from the database every time there's an interaction, or does it cache the workouts?
When that feature is built out, we would cache the
Okay.
images and all that stuff. Yeah, because constantly making calls to the API is going to be pricey and it takes a while. So, yep, yeah.
For the technical requirements for like the virtual machine that you're trying to get, how how did you figure out like how much, storage, how much load it might need? Um, or is
Well,
that something that got figured out for you?
we had some discussions about it, but
I would almost say we haven't actually had a chance to fully figure it out. We set some starters values. I think it's is it a two,
right?
a vCPU with like a gig or two of RAM, right? But we imagined that in a dev environment where it's just the couple of us working on it, there wouldn't be much of a load, but in actual production use, there would probably be a bigger load. But we haven't tested that yet, so we don't know for sure. But yeah, in the VMs we have right now, it's not a whole lot.
We're only planning on doing maybe up to like 50 exercises as examples for now, and then being able to pull from there.
Building.
Yeah, and so what we did is we used really the lowest level that the U had for the sake of cost, with the knowledge that we could scale up if we needed to. And so we knew, because this is a dev environment, we knew that there wouldn't be a ton of load. And so, why have the U invest a lot of money until we know what the load would be? Other questions, comments, thoughts?
I got a little functionality questions. So you were having issues getting the images on both apps. Was that like the images just weren't available, or was there like what was causing that issue?
I know for at least the Android side, we were just having difficulty getting it to work. We were using an image async thing, which is supposed to get an image from a link. Just for temporary, for this, we were trying to get just an example, but we couldn't even get that part to work. So it'll be a lot easier when it's just access JPEG from files. But for the time being, it is not functional at the moment. I don't know about the iOS side. Who was working on that for the iOS side? You?
I was the one who ended up pushing the changes. I literally just did a placeholder. That's what we changed.
The thing with images on mobile apps is that if you, unlike web, where you can essentially just hyperlink an image and it shows up because it's a website and you're pulling from the internet already, with an app, you have to do a lot of asynchronous calls in the back end to APIs that'll feed you the image, or you need to have all the images stored on the app already. And then getting those to show up correctly is a bit of a pain. So yeah, it was just, with the time we had working on the app, we just didn't manage to get it fleshed out. So.
And then kind of building off of that, is the video going to be easier or harder to implement?
We'd probably just add it to the database, right? And I feel as though we could probably find a way to just edit each of the have a script to edit the JSON files so they could call them, but we would need to do a little bit of editing to do that. Right. But
yeah, video would I feel like it would be harder than an image for sure. Yeah, because I mean, now you aren't just getting the image once and then caching it. You kind of have to pull the video, and most of the time videos are big, right? So you don't want to store them on device. Ideally, you'd pull it from a website and then load it right then and there, because you can take advantage of the fact that it can just buffer parts of the video slowly. But yeah, that's a whole different beast for sure. So
yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're a little bit over the time that we had allocated. If you have more feedback, feel free to send it to me, or Joe might be willing to funnel it to me. So, but thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And have a great class.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This has been a great time.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. See you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you.
See everybody else back on my bridge.
Exit.
Stop recording. Oh, there you got it.